guys, welcome back to the next chapter of Out of My Mind. We are going to be reading chapter 31 today. The biggest focus in our last chapter was twofold. One, we were talking about author's craft and how our author used weather to help the reader picture the scene, to imagine, use that imagery to draw and paint a picture in our head of the emotions going on. We saw it in other books we've read. But in a very, very stormy day, the weather was absolutely terrible, is how Melody was describing it for us. Her mother accidentally ran over her sister in her car. So we saw the emotions match with the weather outside, and that was on purpose. The author did that to help you imagine something. In following chapters, we're going to see as the sun comes out, we see Melody gain some confidence and approach her friends. But today, we will see the weather is like that of the day after a storm. It's damp, it's nice, but there's still this eerie feeling because there's this question of whether or not Penny is okay. And I left you guys last time with the question of, was what happened Melody's fault? And you guys responded, and a lot of people said no. A lot of people said that what happened was probably could have been better or may have not happened if Melody had words, but Melody was doing everything she could to stop her mom, which may have slowed down maybe even the speed of the car as it hit Penny. They said Melody was not to blame because she was being brave when she wanted to go to school and confront her enemies, if you will call them, or her teammates. She was being brave, and so those of you who responded said, you know what, we don't want to blame Melody for what happened. It was a circumstance, and it was very, very sad, but she is not to blame. So we'll see this chapter as the weather gets a little better. She does still blame herself a little bit, but I think Mrs. V plays a role in helping her feel better about what happened, and we'll end it with a phone call from the hospital to see what's going on. Join me. The air felt thick and damp, like the silence that followed, the screaming and crying and sirens. The rain had slowed to a drizzle. After Mom and Dad left with the ambulance, Mrs. V took me out of the car and sat me in my chair. She placed the soggy, filthy doodle on my tray. I found this under the car, she said. I touched it and burst into tears. As she rolled me to her house, she said, we're gonna clean Doodle up and have him waiting for Penny when she comes home. You hear? I couldn't tell if she was trying to convince me or herself. I felt dizzy and nauseous. I couldn't stop shaking. After changing my clothes into warm, dry sweats, she switched the radio to an easy listening station and turned the volume down low. The only color I heard was gray. Mrs. V stood behind me, rubbing my shoulders. Are you hungry? No. She continued to massage my back and shoulders until we could feel the tension slipping away. I'm going next door to get your Medi-Talker and the dog. Do you want anything else? I shook my head and continued to listen to the tones of the smoky gray. When she got back, Butterscotch seemed nervous, pacing and sniffing as if she was looking for something. I think she's looking for Penny, Mrs. V said. Dogs know. She hooked up Elvira to my chair and turned her on, and there was nothing either of us could say. It's not your fault, you know, she said finally. I shook my head forcefully. Mrs. V should know better than to say stuff to make me feel better. I mean it, Melody. It is not your fault. Yes, it is, I replied on my talker. I turned the volume up loud. Mrs. V walked around to where I could see her, leaned down until her face was inches from my own. You did your best to warn your mother. You should be proud of yourself. Not proud. Not enough, I typed. Sometimes things happen that are beyond our control, Melody. You did everything right. The guilt bubbled up then. I was mad at Penny. I typed slower than usual. Penny knows you love her, she said. Tears slid down my cheeks. Made Mom take me to school. So what? The fact that you insisted on going to school, even after what happened to you yesterday, shows you are a strong person, a better person than anyone else out there. I'm proud of you for that. Don't be. I'm sure Penny will be just fine. For the first time I could remember, Mrs. V sounded unsure. Will she die? I had to know. She was alive and breathing when the ambulance took her, so I'm going to believe that that's still the case. Toddlers are very resilient, you know. I had to know something else. Her brain. Messed up? I asked. I had seen enough television shows on brain trauma to know that it was possible, and my classmate Jill had been in a car accident. I couldn't bear to see Penny like that. Mrs. V answered thoughtfully and honest. I suppose it's possible, but I pray that that's not the case. 2 broken kids, I type. Just the idea almost made me gag. It's not going to happen, Melody, but Mrs. V's voice wavered. I heard it. I was still for a moment and I typed. It should have been me. Huh? What do you mean? Nobody would miss me. Now you just stop that stupid talk like that. My whole world would fall apart if something happened to you, and your parents as well. Really? I tilted my head as I typed. I plan to wear purple to your college graduation. Far away and very hard. Like making the quiz team? They left me. And they lost. I glanced out of her large picture window and I watched the wet branches sway. How could I say it? I looked back at my talker and I typed very slowly. I want to be like other kids. So you want to be mean and fake and thoughtless? I looked up at her angry face and looked away. No. Normal. Normal sucks, she roared. People love you because you're Melody, not because of what you can or cannot do. Give us a little credit. I want it to be yesterday, I typed. Yesterday your heart was broken because they left you behind, do you remember? Rather than have that than this. I know. Oh, Melody, I know. I'm scared. Me too. The silent room echoed our thoughts. I had a goldfish. He jumped out of his bowl. I typed then. I remember your mom telling me about that. Tried to save him. I couldn't. The phone rang, startled both of us. I jerked in my chair. Mrs. V picked it up. Yes? I strained to listen. Imagine when your parents answer the phone, you're like, what's going on? Just trying to listen. Who are you talking to? Oh no, she said. My heart dropped beneath my chair. She listened for a long time. Oh, yes, she said finally. Then she burst into tears and hung up. Is Penny dead? I typed. The world was spinning. Mrs. V wiped her eyes, looked at me, took a deep breath. She has internal injuries, a badly broken leg, but she survived the surgery. She's gonna live. And she cried once more. Normal doesn't suck at all. Winston agrees. How do you guys think? Let me pause. I'm going to let you take in that emotion. She's going to be okay, but obviously things are different. And Melody's still worried and still blames herself, right? But Mrs. V made some really, really, really important points in this chapter. I want you guys to think about this question before you join us for the next read aloud, as Miss Starkey talks about how Melody's going to confront her classmates. It's wild. But my question for you today is this. How do you think the accident with Penny has changed Melody's outlook on life? I'll say it again. How do you think the accident with Penny has changed Melody's outlook on life? So it's obviously changed Penny a lot. How do you think it's changed Melody? You can message me, send me an email, let us know a morning meeting, but I'm excited to hear your responses. Thanks for joining.